Hello, welcome to another episode of the amazing asset browser that we're building. Cool. All right, so now this time we're going to do the overlay or widget that allows us to view the preview images on top of the. I added it here on top of this, but you can do it differently if you want to. So the idea is that we have these images, and then when we have this preview here. I also changed these buttons to make it a little bit more cool. Now we have this little button here, which opens a big preview here. This button still changed that, which is great. This will update if you select one of the similar ones. It just updates. You can close it here. If we see, let's see this one, open the preview. You can see it a bigger one, bigger image, because this little image here is just too small for just seeing exactly what it is. So yeah, this is it. This is what we have in the Holy Heaven website, like the HDR image here with some render samples here at the bottom, and then just the image by itself and a render using that image, which is great. All right, so let's learn how to do this. It's gonna be quite simple, and it's going to be putting together a lot of stuff that we already been doing. So let me go back to the version we are all using here. So we're starting the same place. Of course, if you're doing your own, you might be doing another thing. Whoa, this is weird. Wow, I don't know what I did. Let's see. That is weird. Oh, yeah. I'm loading the first version actually. So it's been a long time since we did this. Wow. We've done a lot since then, right? All right, cool. Now this is more like it. Seems like it is what we're used to. All right, so we are here in this file. There's gonna be a couple of things. So the main thing is gonna be, we're gonna create our own widget that spawns here on top of this area. So what I'm doing is basically measuring this area right here. Let me open my pen to draw a little bit here, but my tablet's on the other side. There. Okay, so I'm measuring this area here. This area, and this area is where I'm putting the widget on top of. So there's a few things that we could done better, that we will do maybe later. The widget that we're putting on top of that, it's not really responding to resize of the area and stuff like that, but it gets you I guess 90% there. You just need to, if you wanted to, just make that obey the resizing events and stuff like that, but we're not gonna be doing that today. Okay, so let's start by making our widget, which is gonna be the main thing here that we're gonna do. Just gonna copy some code so we don't we're not here all day. So we're gonna just do create a widget here, same as we've done before with other things that we created, like the button and the mixed asset item. We are creating a widget. We have some calling top widget just because it's going to be on top. And then we're just initializing this and setting it's going to take a parent. So we're initializing the self parent variable to the parent here. So that is happening there. Then this widget's going to have a few things. It's going to have a button, which is going to be the button that closes the widget or the preview. And then there's going to be a stack widget, just like we have here, a stack widget, but this one's we're going to create it manually. We have another stack widget, exactly the same setup that we have here, but it's going to be bigger, and we're going to be able to see the images bigger. Right. So let's create the stack widget here. Is here. So we create a stack widget like this. We pass the parent. This is really important part because this is going to be how we put it on top of this. We're basically parenting we're parenting this widget to the parent that is passed to this. So we are going to be able to basically overlay the widget on top of this. And that you're going to see in a second how we are doing that. But that's what I'm doing right now at the moment. So I'm doing this top widget, calling it top widget. It's a stack widget. And then I'm setting the background just to be a semi-transparent background, black. And then here is just setting it to hide, but we're going to see how that works. Let me just comment that for now. The other thing we're going to have here is a button, right? So it's just going to be the button that closes this. So I'm going to get a button and I'm going to call top button. It's going to be off top Q2 button. So we can just give it a nice widget. I mean, a nice icon. And let's do that for now and see how we are going to use this. So in the here, I don't want to do that. Let me go over here. All right. So in the actual widget, which is our asset browser here, we're gonna create an instance of that widget, right? Just like we created all these other widgets or grab them from the layout. We're gonna create another widget here. Okay. So here. I'm going to create a widget. I'm going to call itself top widget. It's going to be just called that because that is a widget that is going to be on top, and it's going to be of type top widget, which is the widget we just created. Remember, this needs a parent and this is not skippable. So you need to actually provide a parent. This is very important because this is going to place it on top of the widget that we have here, which in this case is basically our whole interface. It's going to place this on top of everything we have, really. If we save this and reload, we should see it now. You should see at least the button, and you can see the button is there. You can see it's on top and in the top corner. So this is basically overlaying the whole thing. The stack widget is there as well. You can kind of see the little rectangle on it. But you can see this is going to be on top. It's not going to be conforming to any layout, and that's very important because we're going to position this manually ourselves. It doesn't conform with any scaling or positioning. We just want it to be like that, and that's why we're using just passing this parent. And in the widget, we have no layout at all. We're just going to be doing it manually, essentially. Okay. So now that we have that there, we need to do some things with this because there's nothing on this. We are going to, for now, let's just say self that top button set text to something. Let's say X. Should give it an X on the button, maybe. Let's see. This is a tool. So here we have an X. That's going to be the one that's going to close it, right? So what do we need? We need to grab this. I'm going to spawn it here and it's going to make this as big as this. But this is also just going to be appearing when we click this button here, which I added in the designer. Let me bring Qt Designer. I just made a few quick changes on this. It's not a lot. I made these buttons, the page next and page back tool buttons as well. I just there were push buttons. I just click here and said morph into, and then I just created a tool button. You can see now I can morph it into push button, but that's where it came from. So I don't want to go back to that. And then I added this preview button. It's going to be the one that's going to open the preview. And I added this horizontal spacer just to push the buttons here into this corner because they were stretching all the way here, and it's a lot of movement for the mouse. I just want the buttons as close as possible to click one or the other really quickly instead of just dragging a lot, the mouse a lot, moving the mouse a lot of stuff here. So this is going to be the one that's going to open that when we click one of these guys, and then click it here is going to open the preview, right? All right, so So let's make the button here work. So we're going to connect that in the well, we're gonna have to make a function first to be able to connect that button there. So let's do here. Here we're gonna have two functions. We're gonna have a function to open the preview and to close the preview. Open preview. I'm calling that overlay button the preview. So let me just do pass here and then here close preview. Right, so we're gonna have one for opening and one for closing because we need to show it and hide it. So when we start, we don't want to show these widgets or these text because it's not good that they're there all the time when we're doing this. But I guess for now we're gonna just have them there just to see, just to have them be visible when we're populating this, right? So, all right. One thing we can do right now is just do. Should we just do the hiding and showing to see how it's gonna work? Maybe. Right. So before we do that, I'm just gonna have to do some other things, some other variables for the for things that we're gonna have to do. So let's get to the area that where we have all our properties on the widget here, which is this section, and I'm gonna need one for the preview button, and I'm gonna have another one for the split size because remember that. So I have these two new variables here or properties. So this is the preview button, which is grabbing this guy here. And then this is going to be the split size, which remember that this is actually a split, a three-way split. Actually, you can see don't forget the other guy that is there. This is 1, 0, 1, and 2. So we have 3 of them there. And we want to have this size. We can capture that size to a variable here to be able to reference and see how wide this is. And that's the size that we're going to make the stack view that we have already there. Also, these guys, you can see they are at 0, 0 position here. I'm going to move them manually. You can also calculate this coordinate here if you want to. I'm just going to do it manually for now for my version of the browser, but you can figure out what this global coordinate is and place it there in that corner and then make them bigger from there. And you can maybe calculate that with the things that we're doing here, how we're getting the size of this or something like that. All right, so what I'm going to do first is go to the where we are loading the preview images here, and there we're going to load another set of images. We're going to be the high res version of this. So you can see we have these images that we're loading here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. We're loading these images, which are actually small. We're getting them quite small. So we want to have the full res image of this. And then we're going to populate the other stack widgets. We're getting these images from the website and populating this one. We're going to populate another one, but it's going to be bigger. So we need bigger images for this. So what I'm going to do is just make, make this a copy of this, all these images. And I'm going to make new ones of this. So let's populate this here. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to just make a note of this here and say full res images. So this is going to be the big images that we're going to populate. And then we're going to just add here high for high res, I guess. Like this, high. Like that. So now this is the images. So to get the actual full res, we're going to remove this height, property that we're calling here server. So we don't need that. And also we don't need this line to be broken like that. We can have it in the same line here. That can be done like that. And that is going to be good. Now we're going to need another set of labels. You can see we have these labels that are holding this, let's call low res images. So we're going to need a new set of those, but for the higher res. So let's just also copy these images here. Put them there. And this is going to be exactly the same. Again, we're just going to put high on there. Just copy that and paste it. This all their images. Just create new images so we can use them. And then here, I want to make these guys big, because if not, they're not gonna be as big as this. But for now, let's try doing this, and then we can do it in a little bit. So here in this area, we have a list of tuples with all the images we're downloading. So I'm going to add to this tuple the high res images here. So I'm just going to enter there and put those images there. Let me remove that comma like that. So there we have the low res images, and this is the high res images where we're downloading. We're putting all this stuff together, so we download them all here in one go, so we don't have to call this twice. I mean, we're just calling it for each images here. We're calling it twice, but we're in the low res and the high res of those. But we are looping over that just once, and that is what I wanted to do there. And then after that is done here, we got the images from here and putting it on the labels here. You can see we're calling it with the label, and the image we're downloading is assigned. So now we need to do this part, which it's the same as we did before, but we are assigning now the high res images to the other labels, which is gonna be there. So now in the top widget, the stack widget inside of it is called top width. That's why we have the top widget, top width, insert widget, and inserts the high res image. And if we go to the top widget, you can see if we go here in the top widget there, the top widget has inside of it the stack widget is top width or top. You can call it top widget as well, but that is what it is called. And then we're calling this guy inside of the widget, right? So that's why we have like two levels there. So we have this widget that we created, or this. Yeah, this is the widget that we created. Inside of there's the stack widget. You can call it stack widget maybe and be a little more clear. But this is how I got it there. So now I guess if we run this should do now something. Let's see. If we run this, hopefully there's no errors. If I click one of these guys, it should load something. And it seems like it's loading, but it's pretty tiny. It is really tiny there. So let's make the stack widget a little bit bigger. So let's give it some size. We need to give it some size to see what is happening. Right. So here we're not adding any size to the top widget. It's pretty small. So let's just add that top widget. Let's set fixed size to some size. So just make it 300 by 300 maybe, just so we can see something that is happening. It's gonna be big here. You can see it is already there. If we click this, okay, so there is something in that part. So it is loading something. It has the same issues that we had before. If I click on another one, it's gonna load more on there. You can see it didn't clear the previous images, and this is not working. It's not closing the image yet. So the widget, but it seems like it's working. It's receiving the images, and we are downloading the images from the website, the big images, which is okay. So I just made it a little bit bigger just to check if this is working. And yeah, you can see it's receiving the image, which is the bigger version of this one, and it seems like it's working. So now instead of just having it show up here all the time, let's just have it hidden until we need it to be shown, right? So that's what we're gonna be doing in here. So instead of setting the size here, I'm going to delete this size. We're going to actually hide this to start off. And then we're going to also hide the button. So we don't want to see the button either, right? So the button is going to be shown when we need it as well. So the button, just calling the hide function there or method, you just can hide it. So this is going to be really simple here in open preview. We're just going to set those to shown, really. Just show me the button and the widget, and then we can set the size of the preview here. Actually, we're going to set it here. Let's set it to 800, just to can see it a little bit bigger, by 500. I don't know, something like that. It's gonna be the size that we calculate. We're gonna pass the value for this, but right now I just wanna see that this is gonna be working. And then the way we're gonna move the button here, we can also just move the button to a position. Right now the button is the top left. But we're going to have to move it and use the move method for that. But let's say we're just going to move it for now to, this is going to be 800 of width. So let's just move it 800 for now. And in the y-axis, we're just going to keep it at 0 for now. Right. And then for closing the preview is going to be basically just the opposite of this. Just going to say top widget instead of show, we're going to hide it. And the button, we're going to hide it as well. And not just to make sure that this thing happened, I'm just going to set the width to 0. I mean, you don't really need to, but I don't know. I just want to make the width just 0. So in case it doesn't hide, just tiny, small, but we shouldn't fail really. So now this is going to be, it's not going to be there at the start. You can see it's hidden. It's not going to show now because we haven't connected this guy. So we need to connect this guy to show the preview first. So let's connect that button. Right. So let's get to down here. You're going to have to do it down here after we connect, after this top widget exists. So we have to do it here below that. Okay, so because we are going to need that widget to exist. I mean, we need that widget to exist. So the preview button that we already got from the form, the click method, we're gonna connect it to the self top widget. We need the widget. That's why. And we're going to call the open preview, the open preview method there, right? So now if we do this, should open the preview. And you can see that I am loading the images before we even open it. When we click this guy, the images are already loaded. So when we actually click this, the images are already there. And that's what I want. So I don't want the images to start loading. Because it's 3 images, is not that much overhead to load them. So it's fine. So you can see the button, we also moved it over here. The button is here. But it's not closing it. So let's make the button close that widget. So now we're going to have to go back to the widget that we are creating. And here. No, that's not where I want, but it's up here. The widget that we are creating here. So the button here, I'm going to connect it. Self that top button that click. And if you know what I'm doing here, you probably guessed already what we're going to do here. So we're going to connect this to the close preview function that we have right here. Just going to hide the widget, the button, and make the scale 0 there. So let's test this and see that this is opening and closing. Then we could just do the rest of the stuff that we need here. We have this, click this and it opens, great. If we click here, it closes. Awesome. So now we can click another one, open it, and you can see these buttons are still not working. They work for this, but this also is not refreshing. You can see this has the same images because it's not being cleared. Like we had to clear this one. Right now, this has like 9 images. It's adding on top of it more and more and more images, which we don't want to do that. We need to clear it at one point as well. So, right. So that is the main functionality of that widget. It's there. So now what we are going to do is change something on the image downloader, actually, to keep the images to pass the images some scale. So when the images are big here, they're not gonna be exactly the same, the size of the area. So we need to change something like that. But before, let's just make the grab the area size and pass it to the widget here, so we can see the effect that I'm talking about. So what we're gonna do, it's get the split size in several areas. So let's just go. No, I don't want to open that one. Remember that we created this variable here, the split size, to know the split size that we're gonna grab there. So this is not gonna grab the actual split size. We're gonna calculate it in a way. So let me open the designer here. So this area here, you can see we have this area where we're putting the flow with the flow layout and all the stuff. That is called content area, right? So I want to get actually this area here, the area we're placing those. I want to get the geometry of that, which basically means the size that you're seeing on screen at that moment. So if you scale this and calculate the geometry, is going to be from this corner up to this corner, down to here, and all that stuff. So that's going to change every time you move this, and every time you calculate that, that's going to be a different size, right? So that's the content area. Is going to be the area that we're going to use to calculate that. So now for that, here this where we have the split size, before we call this function, we're going to calculate that split size, and we're going to do it really nicely here. Let me just do this and explain what's going to happen here. So right here, before we call this, we want to get the split size populated, and we're just getting a queue size attribute here, which we're getting the content area that I mentioned. We have this variable already set there, getting the geometry of it. And then we're getting the width property of the geometry, because the geometry has X, Y, width, and height. So it's four properties, because this returns a rectangle, which returns the X, Y, and the width and the height of the rectangle. So we're getting the width of it and the height of it, and we're just gonna put it into the split size, which is a queue size. Now that we want to pass to the open preview, but the open preview at the moment doesn't take anything. So we need to actually modify it to take an area size, which I'm calling. So I'm going to call this area size. So it's going to take an area size, and then this area size is going to be passed here. Instead of just hard coding that, we're going to make this widget whatever area we're passing. Okay. So it's going to be how that's going to work. And then if we go back here again, we need to pass it, actually pass it. I just passed it actually again here. I'm going to pass it to this guy. So remember when we want to pass a property here, which is going to be the self, that split size, when we need to pass a property, we can't just call it like this. We have to make this a lambda. So just call this lambda colon that. So anytime you need to, on a connection, if you need to pass a property to the method here, you need to call it as a lambda. And then this guy should work passing this split size. So the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set this split size in a couple of places maybe, so we have it calculated correctly. It should be calculated, like right now it should calculate it, but when I click this, it's probably bigger than I need. So let's open this, and you can see it's pretty tiny. Right now, I don't think it calculated correctly because at the start, might be calculating different. So what I'm going to do is just use calculate that also when we click this button, calculate this area as well. So let's go to the function there. When we click this is the calls the load asset previews, right? All the way down here. Load asset previews here. We also want to do this that stuff right here before we call any of that. We're gonna do populate that split size again, so we have it as the area that we want here. We need it at the beginning because we need to pass that to the function, but here when we connect the button, but here is where it's actually gonna get the actual size. So let's click here to refresh it. Let's click one of these ones. So when we click it, it's going to calculate it. And now if you open it, you can see now that is the actual good size, right? That's pretty good. The height and the width, I'm going to move it because you can see there's a little area here that is covered, but I'm going to move it down here. So it covers the whole thing. And then the X button, I'm going to move it over here in the corner. That's pretty simple because that's going to be just grabbing the width of that and then putting it on the the right side of this, right? So let me see. All right, so let's the other thing is, you can see this is the problem that I was talking about before. This image, you can see this image is not as big as the area, right? It should be as at least as big as the width. Should be going all the way here, and it's not. It's still a little bit smaller. Also, the button here are not changing this image yet, so we need to solve those issues. So first, let's just connect the buttons to the index, which is going to be really simple. Just go to the change index, change image index section. When we did that here, this is where we're connecting those buttons to change the index of that. So what we need to do is just do the same here for the top widget index, which is passing, in this case, I'm just passing the whatever index we're changing here. We already calculated the index here. I'm just grabbing the index and passing it to these other widgets, so they are in sync exactly. And then I'm going to do the same for the other widget here. So now we have those buttons connected. Those buttons are going to basically connect, control the two things at once. So if we refresh this and click one of these guys, open it, now this should, you can see now they work, right? But now you can see this image goes all the way to the edge because it's probably bigger than this area. But this one doesn't. So I also want to make this larger. So we're going to fix that. This can be closed. Yeah, cool. All right. So we're getting close to what we need here, which is great. So what we're going to do now, it's in the image downloader class that we have here. Here we have this image downloader that is doing all this stuff. When we created this set image label, which is what we're using specifically for our purpose here of adding this image to those labels, we're actually gonna instead of setting just the self pixel here, we're gonna set something a little bit different. So let me just copy this. here. So now what we're doing, okay, we're setting the pixmap, but we're scaling it. So we're calling the scale method. And then what are we doing? We're saying, get the parent, the size hint of the parent and give me the width. So it's basically saying, give me the width of the size of the image and give me the rectangle of the image and then give me the width of it. So this is going to try to scale that image to the proper size. Same idea for the height. And then this last property saying, keep the aspect ratio of the image. So don't distort it. Just if it fits along the x-axis, fit it. If it fits along the y-axis, fit it. But it doesn't stretch it or something like that. Just keeps the ratio of that. But this is going to introduce another little issue here. Right now, you can see if we try that, I'm going to have a little issue because if we open this, you can see the image is actually right there, really, really tiny there. And the reason is that these images don't have a hint. Actually, this one also is made really tiny now because this function works for both widgets, right? So it's pretty tiny, the image there. Now it's because the image does not have a scale set by default. So it's saying like, okay, what is the scale that you want me to set? And this is setting it to the minimum size, I guess, allowed. And it's setting it to pretty small. So we need to actually give the images some scale to initialize them basically with some scale. Okay. So let's go back to where we're downloading the images again here. And then we are going to calculate a size here. The same way we calculated a size for the area that we are using here. We're going to calculate an area for this widget and the area for the other one. So let's just do here. I'm going to say image size is going to, again, create a queue size. And getting the geometry of this widget, which is this area here, we're basically saying, give me the area of that, and I'm gonna initialize. I'm gonna get that geometry of that, get the width and the height, and then we're gonna initialize those values by setting the fixed size of this. So we're gonna set for this. We're gonna say for this label, we're gonna set the size to that image. So basically saying, give me this image size, whatever this area is, this is going to be the size of this image of this label. And that way we can, now that label has a size hint, and that the downloader function can scale that image as big as it can in that area. See, let me just refresh this and you can see now this is as big as it can there. Right, you can see it touches the bottom, so it doesn't scale more. But same thing here, it touches the bottom, doesn't scale more. It's not doing it here because we haven't set this hint to this one. So let's set it to that one as well. And let's do the exact same thing for these labels. I should probably maybe just use the geometry size of the we already calculated here, but I'm just calculating specifically this, and then I'm gonna set it for all those images for those labels here. Same thing, setting actually yeah that's what I'm doing. Sorry, let's just remove that. So I'm getting the split size that we are already calculated before because we already have that size, right? Sorry. We already have the split size that we calculating for the area of that. So we're just using that to set it as the size of these images, which makes sense, right? So now if we do this and refresh it, click on this, one of this guy, open it. And now you can see this image is as big as it can on that area. So it touches from left to right. And then if we click here, same here, same here. Good. So if you close this, make this bigger, and let's just open another one. Click on this, you can see this is as big as it can. This is just touching on the top or bottom. This one is again as big as it can on that area. this one is as big as it can of that area, right? So it fitting the image to the area, which is great. And we have a big preview of the image that we before we had this really tiny preview and we couldn't appreciate what's going to happen there. And that's pretty cool. We have that there. We still have the issue of clicking on another, and this is not refreshing or clearing. So we need to do that as well. So let's do that first, and then we can move on to the other parts that we have yet to do. Let's make this maybe like that. So we are clearing here. Here we're clearing this widget there, removing all the images, and then we inserting. So now we have two widgets. So what I'm going to do, instead of just copying this code, I'm going to create a new function because we need to call this at least twice, and just repeating code is not a good idea. So I just created a new clear preview widget, which creates a container, takes a container, which if you can see, this is exactly this code, but just replacing the specific call to that container with this. And now we can use this for any container, which is really, really simple. And instead of calling this code, we just replace it with this code. So clear preview widget, clear the detail images, and clear the top widget as well. So now this is going to clear it, and then after they're clear, now they insert the new images to it, right? So let's see this in action again. Click here, click one of these guys there. All right, so there it is. Here it's working there. It is here. You can see it works. It moves around, changes the index. If we click one of these other guys, you can see clears and loads the new one. Awesome. If we click another one, clears and loads the new one. Clears and loads the new one. Awesome. So now we can close this button, and that is great. I mean, all the basic functionality of this it's basically done. It's pretty cool. We have it working, and yeah, I mean, it's just working really, really nice there. Okay, so what else are we gonna do on the actual widget? It's before we move on to anything else, we're just gonna move the button to the specific size area that it needs to be. So let's go to the button again, where we have the widget here. Here, the button is not in the correct area. So what we're going to do is move the button and the area to the specific location they need to be, and that's going to happen in the open preview here. We're moving it manually here, but we're not going to do that now. I'm just creating an offset value here, so we can just put it in the y-axis here, which is gonna move it a little bit lower. So they start here, and then the button is gonna move as wide as the area is, minus 100. So just put it inside that area instead of outside that area. And again, the widget is also being moved just down a little, so it's not touching the top edge here. It's going to be touching this top edge in this area there. I'm just moving it manually. Again, as I mentioned, you can do this programmatically, and you can see now it starts here, and the button is here in the corner. It's not outside. So that is much better for that. Cool. I think for the for what's happening or the functionality of this is actually done. But we can do a few things to make the buttons look a little bit better, because these buttons don't have anything now. They just they lost their icons because I made them tool buttons, tool buttons, Q tool buttons, and they don't have any icons right now. So let's do that. And what I'm going to create a variable for the icon size that we're going to use here. So I'm going to say self icon size is going to be 60 because I want to use this all over the place that I'm using, adding icons. And I don't want icons to be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I want to be consistent across all the application. So here where we're creating the top widget, we're going to set some icons. But remember, we have a function to create icons, actually. Remember this? A global function to create buttons. We already used this before. We're going to create a new function that sets the icon because it sets a couple of properties that I like to set for my Q tool buttons, and I don't want to be doing that for every single button that I'm going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is create a new function here. Just going to set tool icon, and then this is then take a button, an icon, and a size. So what happens here is sets the icon using that function, creates the icon with this size, sets a fixed size, which just makes the button as big as the icon, set the icon size as well, and then set the property to transparent. So you can see, I mean, just having all these 5 lines all over the place is going to be a lot if we're going to be doing a lot of buttons. So I don't want that. So this way I can just make simpler in one call. So there we go. You can see in one line here, I have set the tool button for the preview button, which is this one here. I'm just setting it to this button and then setting it to this size, and then doing the same for the other preview and previews and next buttons here. So now if I refresh this, you can see if I click here, this has the nice arrows, and this is a preview, like an image there. And the way I got those names of those buttons are, I think we already discussed this, but in Houdini, you can actually look at the icons. For example, here, you just maybe just put any digital asset here you have. I have this one. You can right click on it, type properties, and go here to this guy. Click on this little icon, icon here. Open that, and then you can grab any icon from here. You just need to grab the name. Just see the name that you want. Explore here. There's a ton of useful icons in Houdini. If you want something like this, just grab the name, put it exactly as it is written here without the extension, and you can use that. You apply that to any button here in Houdini, which is really nice. You can just make really nice icons to your buttons on all your tools, which is really nice. I use that a lot. I love the Houdini icons. They're pretty cool. All right, let me make this smaller again. Right, so the only other thing I want to do here, as icons is concerned, set this icon as well for something different, because right now it just has really, it has the standard icon. Okay, cool. So I am going to have to copy, because there is no way I can call that function from here. So in here where the button is, I'm gonna I'm not gonna set the text, of course, of that. I don't need a text on it, but I'm gonna set these properties, and I'm gonna also call this button size of, I set 60, right? Button size of 60 here. This button is gonna be assigned to it. It's basically the same thing we put on the function, but I can't call the function from here, so I'm just gonna have to do it this way. I could also make maybe the function external. I guess I can do it. Right, so let's just test this, and let's see that this is working. There we go. So now we have a really nice big button there, and we can use it to close this. it might be a little bit too much offset here. This could be maybe a little bit more over there. And when we can actually, we're removing, could actually maybe just do here instead of that, just button, no. You have to make this a property to be able to use it everywhere, and make sure you rename these guys. Should just use refactor, but I'm doing it wrong, I guess. So let's just use this over here. This should place it exactly in the edge of this. Let's just try that. They're exactly on the edge there. Pretty nice. Cool. So this is working. This works. And that works. Awesome. Cool. Right. So one other thing I want to do is when we have this search, when we switch to another one, this is not clearing. So I want to clear that as well. That is part of what we did last week, but I discovered that after, and I didn't do that. So we need to actually clear that. Because right now, everything it's basically done. Load asset with tag. Let's go to load assets with tag. I think it load, if I change this guys, it clears. Yeah. So we just missed it when we click on the asset with tag is when we didn't clear that load asset with tag here. So I'm just gonna say here before we do anything really here, I'm gonna say self dot search dot clear. So if that search is just clears up when we click on one of these icons over here of the similar assets. Right, and with that, I think we are done for today. And this was something that I wanted to do for a long time. And now I'm quite happy that I was able to do this. It's again, as I mentioned, something that I always wanted to do, and it's pretty nice. So if we make this maybe even bigger here, let's refresh this, make sure that we are loading the right thing. We can click on any of these guys, see the preview. The preview is going to be as big as it can there. You can see that one is as big as it can. And maybe one little thing that I would like to do is just center this image here. But yeah, I mean, it should be able to just center those images there. But I mean, it's okay. For now, I think we're pretty good. This is, again, as I mentioned, something that I wanted to do for a while. Took me a while to figure it out, but now I feel really nice that I was able to do that. So now if we had any environment image here, we're not only going to be able to see it when we load it here, but we're going to be able to just see it before. Oh, this is going to be the preview. Okay, let's assign it. Then it is assigned. Pretty cool. Man, this is super awesome. And with this, next episode, now we're going to just move on to loading assets, loading models, because we did a lot of work now with HDR images. I think we're pretty good on that side. If there are any questions or things that you guys want to do, let me know and we can improve on this. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. If I find things that I want to improve, I will do it, and also, of course, inform you about it, show you what I did. For now, I think we're going to move on from HDR images and go to assets. All right, great stuff, guys. Hopefully you are enjoying the series. We're going to keep doing some more coding Houdini. I love doing this kind of tools, and if you see this tool, it just looks super amazing. I don't think I've seen tools this elaborate in Houdini before, so we have a really, really amazing tool. If you have followed me all the way up to here, you're doing studio quality, top of the game tools in Houdini, and you can do this port this into Maya or any other application just uses PySide. All right, thank you for joining me. This is Varomix, and I will see you in the next one. Let's keep learning together. Cheers.